So, hello everybody. My name is Liz and I'm a full-time recruiter at George Brown College. I do this presentation at a lot of high schools. Normally I have an hour to do this, so I'm going to try and zip it in half an hour, but sometimes I tend to go over a little bit. And that's me there, yay! And I have a picture of my lovely daughter on my screen there because I actually use her as an example. I'm a single mom and my daughter is currently at university. So I'm going to use some of her costs because it would be the same price as someone coming to George Brown to do one of our degrees. So it kind of evens out. So we're going to cover a lot of information over the next little while. First of all, we're going to start off with talking about student debt, that nasty four-letter word. So they did a survey a couple of years ago. They asked a bunch of students who were in college and university and said, when you graduate, how much debt do you think you're going to have? These were the results. So you'll see that the some students graduate with a little bit, 19% of students graduate with 40 or more. The bulk of students, the average, if you look at that gray column, 28% of students fall between $20,000 and $40,000 worth of student debt. That seems to be the national average across Canada. For domestic, that's pretty much what we're looking at in terms of debt. Now, that being said, some of y'all might have more debt, and remember, there's different factors of why some people will have more than others. What do you plan on studying? Some programs cost more than others. And how many years do you plan to go to school? Some of you might want to start at George Brown and then maybe to transfer to university. We have some students who have already done university and now are coming back to college. So again, the more years of study, the more years you're going to have to pay off. And also the subject, sometimes people don't realize that some courses and programs cost more than others. This is sort of a little list of the average costs by study area. You'll see the average is about $6,000. This is domestic fees. Please be aware. I deal just with domestic students. So international will have completely different lists of what their fees are. But this is sort of a cross-section of Ontario fees by subject. So some may be as little as $4,000 a year, and when you get into med school, law school, of course, the fees are going to be a little higher. That being said, some people think that college is less expensive than university. But again, depending on the program, you sometimes will be surprised at the fees that we have. So across Ontario, the average college tuition, if you see the third one up, is about $2,700 just for tuition and fees. And if you look at the top of the list, I remember seeing in the chat section someone was asking if anybody's going into dental hygiene at George Brown. Well, if you are, you're going to be paying a hefty amount. Remember, programs like dental hygiene cost a lot of money because we have state-of-the-art labs that are actual clinics that are open to the public. All the materials and equipment that the students have to use to learn those programs costs a lot of money to maintain. So again, don't always assume that college is going to be less money than university. Now, this chart here is going to give you sort of the just an example of the average costs. So the first column is actually what the provincial government is using now when they're determining how much financial aid students might be qualified to get. So in Ontario, average college tuition, $2,700. University is about $6,000. Remember, average, because I showed you some examples of some programs that cost a lot more than that. In terms of fees, they can be anywhere from $1,900 to $2,200, and then the other expenses, whether you're going to live at home, go to a local college or university, or if you plan to go away. So it can be as little as $8,800 up to $18,000 per year. The next column you're going to see is my daughter's first year at Queen's. She's in the physical health education and kinesiology faculty. So just to show you an example of her tuition for first year was $7,500. Not outrageously expensive. Her fees actually came in under. The big chunk of change was living expenses. So for those of you who are not familiar, we live in downtown Toronto and my daughter is at Queen's, which is in Kingston, Ontario. So residence and meal plan for her program for first year was $12,800. The rest of that was all the little things we had to buy for her for residence, right? Usually you get a room with a bed, a chair, a desk, and a closet. So you have to buy all the bedding and the pillows and the laundry basket, laundry detergent, a computer, a printer, ink. All those little things add up. So her first year was about $25,000. Residence is usually only guaranteed for first-year students at many institutions, so you have to look for off-campus housing. So for my daughter's second year, she was not in residence, so the fees came down a little bit. So she's renting a house with 5 other girls, and they pay about $650 a month in rent plus utilities. And she doesn't have a meal plan like she did in year one. She has to buy and make all her own food, so she saves a little bit of money in that regard. Moving on to how much it can cost at George Brown, these are some examples. So domestic fees for 2 terms, usually when you see the prices on our website and in the view book, it's usually 2 terms. So you're doing 2 semesters. So the cost is for 1 year. And then you'll see domestic can range anywhere from $37,000 to $20,000. And then international from about $15,000 to $30,000. And then all the fees and supplies, that gives you an indication of the things that are added on to your tuition to cover the cost of technology and using the gym and the fitness center, and you're covered under your health plan. All these things are covered under you, so that when you come to college or university, you're getting a lot out of your fees. And then our residence, called the George, which you can visit their website, our residence this past year was about $9,800 for a year. And that tells you what you get, your utilities, phone, cable television, internet, and you get a fully furnished suite. No food, you have to buy and make your own food because they have kitchenettes. So that gives you just an example of how much money it might cost you to come to school, post-secondary. And you're getting, you get what you pay for. You're putting an investment in yourself, which is going to give you the education that you need to get your dream job. So you're really paying for your dream sometimes. That's the way I like to look at it. They also revealed that about more than half of the students have to work while they're going to school. That's the reality. And my daughter is one of those students. She works every year at her university to make money. She works every summer when she's not in school to help make money. Even when I was a student at George Brown, I was a business student, and I actually worked part-time in the business office when I was a student here to help make a little bit of money. And we have many, many jobs that we offer students if they want to get a job on campus. We hire campus tour guides and tutors and note takers. So if you're looking for a job, please come talk to our career center, because that can help. Every little bit will help keep your student debt down. Now we're going to move on to the free stuff. That's my favorite word in the English language, free. So we're going to talk about scholarships and awards. So there's different types of free money that you can get, and all of these terms are from the George Brown website under the financial aid page. So I'm going to go through them really quickly, but please feel free to visit our page so you can read them again at a leisurely pace. But usually scholarships are based on your grades, so academics. Bursaries and grants tend to be based more on financial needs, so you have to show them how much money you or your parents make to get money. And then awards can be used on many different criteria. It can be a combination of things that they look at. There's divisional awards. Sometimes we have money just for business students or just for nursing students. And then we have college-wide, which means it doesn't matter what program you're studying, but there's also subcategories within those awards that you can look into. External means that it's not given by the college or the university. We have a lot of companies, organizations, clubs, associations that will give money to students, and they have their own set of criteria. Entrance is usually when you're about to start college or university, you get a one-time entrance award. And then in-course means you can actually win money while you're already a student. So my daughter applies for bursaries every year at Queen's. She gets them for semester 2, so they're not at the beginning. And we do annual business awards and culinary awards and construction engineering awards for students in those programs, and they win money while they're a student. So don't think that the money you get is always before college or university starts. There's about $177 million available across Canada, and every year about 3% goes unclaimed. And this is in scholarships and awards. So please make sure that you visit the web pages to see what's available for you. Every college has money, included George Brown. But again, the way that different schools administer the money and the categories that you have to get the money changes. So you have to make sure that you read the fine print to see, how can I get money? Is it based on my grades? Is it based on the program? Is it based on how much money my mom or dad makes? So there's lots of information that you can get. And remember, you can win money every year that you come to school, but usually you have to apply every year. George Brown does not do automatic scholarships. You always have to fill out a piece of paper with us. So please visit our page. This is sort of a screenshot on the George Brown website. When you go to financial aid, it'll have awards on college-wide, divisional. We have links to the outside money. We have links straight to OSAP. We give you all the tools to help you research and then to apply for money. And in terms of how much we give away, last year we gave away about $7.6 million in the form of scholarships and bursaries, free stuff to about 6,300 students. More than double that are receiving money from the OSAP grants and loans. So please make sure you apply. And I also want to stress that you don't have to be in one category or the other. If you qualify, you can fit into both of these categories, because my daughter gets OSAP grants and loans every year, but she also wins money from her university every year in the form of bursaries, because we're a lower income family. So the more you apply to, the more opportunities to get money. If you or your family members or your parents are part of a union, there's also opportunities that you can get money for scholarships and awards. And when I do presentations at high schools, sometimes I have 300 students sitting in an auditorium, and I'll ask them, how many of you know if your parents are part of a union? Maybe 3 hands go up. Sometimes I'll say, do you even know where your parents work? Again, 3 hands go up. So I'm like, I know you don't like to talk to your parents, but ask them, because sometimes companies have scholarship programs and you don't find out about it until you ask. And a lot of unions also have scholarship programs available for their members, because Adam and I are part of the OPSU union, the one on the top of the list, and I know that my union has scholarship program available for the children of its members. So please look into that. This is just a sample. There's many, many other unions that may have leads for you. External scholarships and awards for students with disabilities or who have exceptionalities. Remember, we are mandated by the government to provide accommodations to help you be successful when you come to college or university, but you have to register with us. So if you have an IEP from your high school, which stands for an individual educations plan, because you are getting help and accommodations at your high school, that does not automatically come to us. You have to actually register with our accessible learning office and bring in all your paperwork. That could be your IEP, your medical forms, your psychological evaluations, and we will work with you to create accommodations to help you pass all your courses. But you can also get extra money sometimes. These are just a sample of some of the websites that families can register with. Even when you apply for OSAP, one of the first questions they ask you is, do you have a permanent disability, yes or no? So by clicking yes, it already lumps you into a different category that's going to search for more funding for you. And please don't be embarrassed to register with us. It's all confidential. I know sometimes students think, wow, I think I'm going to try and do it on my own. But we want you to get the help. We want you to pass all your courses, because if you fail them, you do need to repeat them in order to graduate, and you're going to pay again. So just by passing everything the first time, you're actually saving money so that you don't have to pay to repeat a course. Here's a fun one that you can look into. Loblaws, you know, the place where we buy our groceries, they have a scholarship program. You don't have to work there. You don't even have to shop there. This one, the deadline is coming up May 6th. Minimum average of 70 if you're coming from high school. And if you have a lot of volunteer hours, this is a good one you can look into. Another fun one for high school students is the Stuck at Prom contest. So the people who make duct tape. Remember, when I was your age, it only came in silver, and plumbers used it. But now it comes in a full array of colors, and these are some of last year's winners. Their entire outfits, can you believe this, are made out of tape. So for someone who's a little bit creative and you want to do something fun, remember, it's not always just for 95 average students. You could win up to $10,000 just for making your outfit out of tape. This one started April 1st, no joke, and it actually runs until July 9th, because some high schools do have their prom at the end of June. So this is a fun one. You can go onto their website and you can look at the details. College to university pathways. Remember, we have a lot of opportunities now where students can start at a college and then transfer to university. And there's benefits to doing that. Number one, you get the best of both worlds. You get the hands-on experience with us, and you get a degree. So this is just one of the many examples that exists at our college, and there's examples at colleges in Ontario. So I chose Bachelor of Arts in Early Childhood Studies. That's one of my favorite ones because we actually run 12 daycare lab schools in Toronto, and when my daughter was little, she actually went to a George Brown daycare. So I can tell you as a mom, I was pretty darn impressed with the education that she got at a young age. So if you wanted to get a degree in that, you could go to a university like Ryerson for all 4 years to get that degree. There's nothing wrong with that. Great school. We do lots of partnerships with them. But as you can see, you'll be paying about $31,000 for tuition. If you do the partnership we have with them, it's actually called the consecutive diploma degree option. You actually save $7,300, right? You do the year 1 and 2 at George Brown, year 3 and 4 at Ryerson. You don't have to do a separate application, and you actually graduate with a diploma from us and the same degree from Ryerson, and look at all the money you can save to get the same education. A lot of people don't realize this, and the government takes this so seriously that they created this website called ontransfer.ca. It was created by the Ontario Council on Articulations and Transfers. Big, long name for just the people who are connecting college to university. So they've put all the college programs and all the university programs, and you can connect the dots. So if you wanted to come to George Brown to do a 3-year marketing advanced diploma and you want to do a degree, you can hit search and it'll list every college or university degree program in Ontario where you can transfer credits. So not only can you save money, but you're also getting a fantastic education of the hands-on and the theoretical from the degree. Everyone's heard of GoFundMe. You can actually raise money for anything nowadays. And every year I go on to their website and I look for unique stories of students who are actually raising money for their education. And this was kind of a neat story. This was a couple of years ago, but this young lady, when you read her profile, you read that at one point their family was experienced such poverty, overcoming poverty, that they were homeless. And imagine getting from that and then being accepted to Harvard University. Like, if this doesn't tell you that anything with hard work and dedication is possible, I don't know what does. So this young lady, when she found out she was accepted to Harvard University, she was going to need a little bit of help financially. So some friends of hers actually created this GoFundMe account on her behalf. They were trying to raise $50,000 and they ended up almost doubling it. And it doesn't have to be something to this extreme. Let's say you know how much your first year at George Brown is going to cost, and maybe you're going to apply for some of the free stuff that I told you about today. Then you're going to apply for OSAP, and you're going to find out OSAP does not cover everything you need. What if there's like $1,000 left over that's not covered? If you're like me and you're cheap, you don't even want to pay for that. You could create a little GoFundMe account and say, I need to raise $1,000 to help pay for first year. It's my dream to go to George Brown to be a dental hygienist. And you could just share it on all your social media outlets. And you all have friends and family. I'd be like, hello, friends and family. For the next 2, 3, 4 years that I'm going to school, every year on my birthday, name day, Christmas, Hanukkah, every holiday, no presents, money, please. Really, I think they would be impressed. Instead of buying you gifts, they'd be putting a little bit of money towards your education and your future, and that helps to cut down on your debt later on. Another option, you can actually convert loyalty points into money for school. So higher ed points, you can use TD points or Aeroplan. And you can, again, ask your friends and family, if anybody has any points, can they please donate them to you? You create a little account, and then those points can be converted to cash, which you can actually spend on campus. Tips for the free stuff: start early. The earlier you start looking into this, the better off you're going to be. Look how many examples I've already showed you, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I've just shown you a few examples, and there's hundreds of them, thousands of them. So you're going to have to set aside, they say, 1 to 2 hours per week, just be able to research and to fill out your applications. Remember, the more you put into it, the more options you have of winning. And the third bullet, yes, I actually made mistakes on purpose right there, because some students don't take the time to proofread their essays or their submissions, and that can actually cost you the scholarship. And please be hopeful. The more you apply, the better odds you're going to get. I have a friend who is a recruiter. She does the same job I do at Centennial, and she told this amazing story a couple years ago, and I repeat it to people. One year, that college had a new bursary, and they wanted to advertise it to all their students. So imagine this. They sent an email to 16,000 students at Centennial saying, we have a new bursary. Doesn't matter what year you're in. Doesn't matter what program you're in. If you need the money, send in one of those 500-word essays. Tell us why you need the money. Do you know out of 16,000 emails that went out, only one student applied and they won it automatically? There was no competition. Another story that I heard from a university rep at UOIT, they said that a young man walked into financial aid and said, I need money. Do you have anything? And they said, yes, we have several unclaimed awards, like we all do. So this guy filled out everything. He filled out stuff. He's like, there's no way I'm ever going to win all of these, but hashtag YOLO. He gets a call a week and a half later. He comes down and he rushes down. He's like, just out of curiosity, which one did I win? And they said, are you aware that you filled out one that was for female students? And he was kind of embarrassed and said, oh, I don't know, maybe. And they said, well, lucky for you, no female students applied, so we're giving it to you anyways. True story. We have money for you. You have to make sure that you apply to everything. Now we're going to talk about OSAP. This is pretty quick. Right? Everyone's heard of it, Ontario Student Assistance Program. If you go onto their YouTube channel, they actually have a great video that we don't have time to show today. It's about 5.5 minutes long. It's got a step-by-step how to apply. Please go on there and watch it because it'll walk you through the application. Basically, everyone's heard of it. It's a bunch of money that's made up of federal money and provincial money combined to give you a combination of grants and loans. Grants is the free stuff. Loans is the stuff you have to pay back. OSAP actually gives you an option that if you don't need all the money, you can actually decline the loan portion and just take the free stuff and run. So if you don't need it all, that's a great option because then you owe nothing back with interest later on. To be eligible for OSAP, there is certain criteria that you have to meet. So again, you can, we'll have this available so you can watch it again, but if you go onto their website, they have all of this information, but you usually have to meet the residency, the citizenship, you have to be going into a program that's actually OSAP eligible for starters. So when you do your application, you're going to tell them, I'm going to this school to study this program, and then where am I going to live? The farther away your school is from your home, they take that into consideration. Then they deduct how much you and your family are contributing. So the students are expected to contribute. So they've done the math. Students working over the summer should be able to save at least $3,000. And then they look at how much your parents make. So the parent, or if you're married and you're going back to school, how much your spouse makes. So all of that factors into deciding how much money you get. Students who are going into maybe one of those expensive programs like dental hygiene at George Brown, OSAP is not going to cover everything you need for one of those high-cost programs. So there is something called the Student Access Guarantee. When you're doing your application on OSAP, because they're going to know all your financial information, they're going to automatically see if you qualify to get a little bit of extra money to help pay for those high-cost programs. Everyone's probably heard on the news that there's changes coming to the OSAP model. Basically, that you used to, if you are 50,000 income or less family, you would get tuition and then a little extra, but now they're sort of capping it where it's going to cover your basic average tuition, and people used to be able to get more of the free stuff than the loans. Now it's going to be about 50-50. Most of you, like my daughter, she has more loan than grant, but I mean, you get a little bit of money from the government, which helps. And then the 6-month interest-free period is gone. So as the day you graduate, they start charging you full interest on the amount that you owe back. You still have 6 months to get a job before you have to start paying it back, but you're getting charged full interest on it. They're asking all the colleges and universities to decrease our tuition by 10%. So we're in the process of doing that. And there will be some fees, some options that you will be able to opt out. So for example, if you're covered under your parents' health plan, when you come to college or university, you can bring a document that says that you are already covered under a health plan, and you can opt out of ours, and then you get some money back. So that's one thing that you can get a little bit of money. The OSAP website, when you go on to ontario.ca/OSAP, kind of looks like this. It's not going to go live until next Thursday. So a week from today, it should be opening up for students who are planning to come to college, university in September 2019. But before that, do you see this little section here? They actually have a nice little estimator tool. So before you do the application, you can say, how much would I get? So you can answer just a few questions from the drop-down menu. And based on your family income and where you're going, this is a sample that I did. So as you can see along the bottom, as the family income increases from 50,000 all the way up to 170,000, see the green stuff? That's the free stuff. The more money your family makes, woo, you'll see the green stuff sort of decreases, and eventually the loan portion also decreases. So this is just a sample that you can do just to see how much money you might get, which is nice to sort of have an idea of your finances ahead of time. There's 4 sections on your application that you have to do. Super easy. When it opens up, you're going to have to submit your social insurance number to create your OSAP account. So make sure you write down your password, because it's pretty tricky to get it. You'll have to go in person to a financial aid office if you forget it. Well, it's as you can see, it's a very short application. It takes about 15 minutes to do it. And when it gets to the tax information, if your parents, if you're a minor, if you're coming out of high school, or you've been out of high school for less than 6 years, you're going to have your parents on the application. So this gives you an example of the 4 tax lines that they have to submit. So it's pretty easy. All of this is on the OSAP website. It usually takes, the sooner you do your application, the quicker you can find out how much money you're getting. It can take 6 to 8 weeks to process your application. So as soon as you know where you're going, just get it done. And again, you can get an estimate of how much you're getting. Once you finish everything, there's the Master Student Financial Assistance Agreement. You're going to do that online. That's the sort of like lifetime agreement between you and OSAP. That basically tells you, yeah, I owe money, and they're going to hunt me down until I pay that money off. And then you'll start getting notifications from the National Student Loan Service Center. Those are the people that are responsible for collecting the money. So you'll get a notice from them saying, this is how much we've given you so far, and if you were going to start paying it back today, this is how much you're going to pay us. And then there's a few declaration pages that you usually have to submit. So because I'm on my daughter's application for OSAP, I had to sign a form that says, yes, I agree, and I'm submitting everything correctly, and I give OSAP permission to check Canada Revenue to verify my income, etc. So there's certain things you have to fill out forms. And it's done pretty easy. Once you get do your application, it takes about 3 to 6 weeks to hear back. So you make sure you set your email filters so that if you're getting notifications from OSAP, it's going into your inbox and not into your junk folder. 60% of the money will come in September. The remaining 40% doesn't come until semester 2. So this is a screenshot just from my daughter. You can see that her first payment came the week of August 29th. And even though her 60% of her money was $8,905, you'll see that they automatically send the college university what you owe, and you only get the balance. So you're not getting the full amount. We're going to pay your college university what you owe them, and then you're going to get the balance that you're going to use to help pay for books and other incidentals. Once you're finished everything, the day you graduate, they give you 6 months to look for a job, and you'll get a package from the National Student Loan Service Center telling you how much you owe, how much you have to pay per month, and the interest rates that you're going to get charged. And if you're interested in finding out what the interest rate are, OSAP has a repayment calculator tool built into their website where you could plug in, I think I might owe back $30,000 when I'm done. And if I want to pay it back in 5, 10 years, you can plug that in, and it tells you they charge you 3.5 plus the prime rate. So it does all the math for you, because I don't know if you're like me, I'm not good with math and percentages. So it's a great little tool to give you an idea. And remember, there are other options available other than OSAP. You can talk to your bank. They have student lines of credit that are available for students to borrow money. If you're doing your undergrad, you can get up to $45,000. This is with the Bank of Montreal. That's my bank. So I did some research. And if you're planning to go to medical or dental school, wow, you can get up to $325,000, because that's pretty much how much it's going to cost to become a doctor or a dentist. So there's other options. So talk to everyone to see what's the best plan for you based on the interest. I have had friends who have already gone through this with their children, and they say that they borrow money from OSAP every year, and then when the student is done, they look at the interest rates, and sometimes it's better to go get a bank loan for your OSAP amount, use that to pay off your OSAP straight away, and then just pay back your bank loan. So remember, it all depends on what the interest rates are going to be when you are graduating and getting ready to pay that money back. So tips for the free stuff: apply as soon as it goes live next Thursday. Please be honest. You can't lie about how much money your parents make, because the government will find out. Check your application regularly, because if you're missing something, they will not process your application. It'll be on hold. Remember, OSAP money is for school, not for taking trips to Cancun with your pals, because it's there for money. You'd be surprised at some of the things that students will spend their money on. And if you still don't have enough money, please come and talk to us. Statistics Canada has reported that almost a third of students who drop out of college or university drop out because of financial reasons. They run out of money. And we don't want you to be part of that percentage. We want to help you, and we have food banks that are available on campus. So we know that sometimes it's a struggle for our students, and we want to be here to help them, but please come and talk to us. And just to show you an example that, you know, you really can work towards putting money towards your education. This is just a sample of my daughter. Like, she has worked her little buns off when she's been at school, and you can see first year, second year, third year, like, she's just got a new job where she's going to be making $29,000 next year. So if you're a good student and you get involved, you can get some good money. And she wins money in bursaries for the 3 years. And I've shown you actually how much money she's gotten from OSAP the past 3 years. The grants in the green, and the orange is the loan. So she already has $23,000, almost $24,000 in student loans waiting to be paid back when she's done. But she's also made money every year, and she's won money every year. So there's ways of keeping your student debt load down if you're willing to do the work. And if you want, take a screenshot of this. This is pretty much a lot of websites that I use when I talk to students about options for researching college, university, paying for college, university. My email is there. So if you want, you can send me an email. But please, if you have questions about OSAP, we're going to refer you to our folks over in financial aid. And I deal only with domestic applicants. So if you have international questions, please send them. We're going to refer you to the International Center. And, you know, if you enjoyed this presentation, please let us know if we can improve it to make it better for next time. We are so gung-ho for that. We love getting feedback. So that wraps up for me. Bye, everybody.